But when you put this in a piece of PCV pipe, you just put it in finger tight as hard as you can turn it, and then you turn it like two more turns, no more than 2.5 turns. And then you won't split this. Because if you had a long thread on there, and this is like a wedge going in there, and the further you drive it, since it's wider out here than it is right there, when you drive it in there all the way, this is a lot of pressure out here, and it can split this collar. So it's just hard finger tight and 2 turns, 2.5 turns max. Now I am connecting metal pipe to PVC pipe, and there's no problem there, except you have to seal this thread. Now you can use the ribbon dope, even the better kind, but you really need to use this special sealer that works with metal and PVC. And since this goes into that and will actually seal this up, putting this on it will help it seal. And the thing about ribbon dope is it does work. Now, I was a pipe fitter when they brought this stuff out. I was also a pipe fitter when they came out with PVC pipe. Prior to that, we didn't have any of that. It was all metal, and you had to use you had like gaskets, thread sealing things in cans like this, and you dipped it out and wrapped it all around the threads, and then you put it in here and you got it all tight. And once it's solidified and got hard, it was a great joint. But it was messy and it got all over your fingers, and it took a while. With tape, you can just spin tape around these, and on this thin tape, generally ribbon dope, it's 4 turns, no more than 7. But that's with this thin, cheaper stuff. See how this stuff is not really folding together? Now pinch that when I put it in the cover. But 4 passes on the threads is all you need, and you would hold it like this and thread from the top around. You're following the threads. You know, if you looked at the pipe like that, you would put the thread on like that and just roll it around the pipe and break it off. And just do it on all of them. And it doesn't matter if you do it all up here, but most of it's going to be right where it's going to mate. Now, if I was using different metals here, you get into a problem of the corrosion factor from the different metals. Now, copper doesn't like to corrode, so it's really nice. But this stuff corrodes that you're hooked to. But if I was running steel pipe to a galvanized pipe, or steel pipe to a black pipe to galvanized, or stainless, the 2 different metals will actually work against each other and corrode. And if you have that situation, they have a nice way of dealing with it. It's called a dielectric union. And the dielectric union, that end would be hooked to one type of pipe, and this end would be hooked to another piece of pipe, and there's a big old O-ring gasket in the middle, so that when it seals and keeps it from leaking, those 2 metals don't touch each other. And it's worth the investment over a regular union. If I brought one kind of metal into here and another kind of metal into here, it would work on the union. But by having a dielectric union, those 2 metals cannot touch each other. I know it gets complicated, but it's just, for the average homeowner, it might take 10 years to corrode, but with a dielectric union, it probably wouldn't ever go bad. Hey, just take a piece of pipe in your fingers. You put your forefinger in the spool. You put your finger under the tape. You lay the finger on the pipe. And you just go around the pipe. And with this good tape, 4 times is all you need. And when you put it on, it'll cling a little bit, but you just hold the edge of it with your thumb. And once you get it all the way around, it'll hold itself. And that's all you got to do. Just pretend that that's a water line in the ground, and that's going to go on the end of it and be glued on. And here is the union, and it makes it a lot simpler, because if you had all this hooked to that valve, and the valve's pretty heavy, it's about 20 some pounds, and then you're trying to have this all hooked together and put glue. You put the primer on here, and then after it dries you put the glue on there, and then you've got to stick this on there and preferably turn it a part of a turn. It's really hard to do with all that valve on it. But see, you can take a union and put this together and just glue that on. There's the pipe, you just glue it on. You can push it on, you can mark the pipe so you... Sorry, I dropped the fitting. But you can have this all together, all tight, everything done. The reason I don't have ribbon dope on that is I'm going to put this on it. And then I will just glue this onto the pipe. And I mark the pipe that distance with a magic marker. So when I push it on there, I know it's going to hit that seat inside there. And then that's really easy to do. And then you have a pipe on this is hanging on the end of your water pipe. And your water line's cut off. And this is attached to that. And you just have to put your union together. And the thing about a union is the water is coming this way. And it needs to go up against that seat rather than this way. They don't put an arrow on it, but when you start working into unions that have a little higher pressures, it's always better for the water flow to be going the direction of the seat. And then all you have to do is place your valve, your yard hydrant in the ground and just tighten this union up, and it's done. If you watch the other video, you saw where this pipe was in the ground so that you could reach down in there and cut the valve off to this, although the valve was shut. So you could reach down inside and shut the valve off at that depth, and it had cutouts on each side of it for the pipes to run underneath the bottom of it. Well, one of the problems with this past installation was this should be sitting in gravel. There was no gravel in the hole. That was the first thing I noticed when we were digging the mud out. So I have shortened this up because when this is down here, it'll cover this amount of space, and I won't have to, if I slide this clamp around, when this slides down here and these grooves are over this pipe, I can fill this up with gravel. And I'm going to put the rest of the bag, it's a 60-pound bag of gravel, and I'm going to put the rest of the bag in the hole. Plus I got to put a concrete pad in there for this to sit on. None of that was in the hole. And I have been, this is about an hour later in the video, because I had to set up a siphon down this hill next to that hole with several lengths of hose to suck all the water that's in it out of it. Now you get back to tightening up these fittings. You just adjust your pipe wrench, and the best thing to do is turn this fitting, and when it gets tight on this nipple, it will turn that one. Now this is softer metal than that, so you could split that. Now normally speaking, you would go in there and leave about 2 1/2, 3 threads. So then all you have to do is just keep doing that. Now I want the water line to come out on this spot, so that the handle is even with the water line coming in from the thing. So I put a little magic marker right there to remind me that when I finish tightening this, and it's sliding in my vise, but I want that to be lined up with that mark.